Hello, everyone, and welcome to the American Regional Mahjong League launch show. We, of course, just finished the winter season of 2024, and we are coming up on the 10th season of Armel. This is Korak. I'm joined by Nathaniel,
Hey there, Korak.
Alex,
Hey, how's it going?
Donald,
Hey, great to be here.
and Brett.
I've been here the whole time.
Sure you have. Anyway, so are first going to go over all the divisions, all the action that happened at the end of last season. Of course, as I mentioned, that is 10 seasons of Armel. We had the inaugural Beta League season, and now we've completed 2 full years of league by league play. So let's jump right into C1.
Hooray.
Alrighty.
Technical difficulties have never happened. They're not real. They're fake. You're
Yeah, I'm
imagining it.
definitely
You're
not
crazy.
seeing anything there.
Boom. C1.
There it is.
Hey,
Oh, yeah, the lag. Oh, yeah, so this is what happens. We have this really long menu here. It takes a bit to load. But, of course, you see here, Oliver taking complete control of this division, over 300. Donald, a very good result here, 285. Christy, Gino, Dylan, Remy. And on the way down, there are a whole bunch of promotions that there usually are in C1. But you just
Looks like we lost Korak for just a
Korak
second.
cut out. Donald, go for it.
All right. Yeah, I think the most notable promotion is the winner of the Saki Award, Noel H, who got plus 0.4 and promoted to B3 League.
Oh, wow.
And that's
So
just
these
So yeah,
promotion...
everyone from her upwards promoted to B3.
Interesting. There are seemingly not enough triangles here.
yeah.
Well, it's because we need to fill in all of the things that'll happen in B3 and going up the division, especially in the C1 division. We had extra promotions. Normally it's between 12 and 14, but there were just so many open slots, and you'll see why later. But basically, there were a whole lot of people that were expected to go to upper divisions would have gotten extra promotions, but not enough people met to plus minus zero. I believe B1 had like 6 people in between 0 and minus 20.
Holy shit. Sorry to
That's
swear on the
crazy.
hype stream.
But you look at this division, very jam-packed, action-heavy, high win rate, high deal-in rate, pretty big value on some of those deal-ins, decent value on winning. Of course, we see the participation rate. I always explain that. That is just adding up the call and reach rate, basically how involved are you in each hand. And of course, you see Ross here at the bottom, definitely won in that category, but 74.2% call rate. Well, that's fun. It's going to be hard to win a bunch of points like that.
I'm also looking at Epo with the 27.9% win rate. Sorry, that's Jessa in line 22. But only a 3,500 average win. Everyone else in the division is over 4,100.
Means you're probably a bunch of simple Yaku High or Yaku Idora calls, not really building the value, but at the same time, 23% reach rate. So you'd expect a little bit more. I'd be really interested to see what actually happened at Jessup last season.
Epo, aim higher.
And you just see all sorts of people sitting here, 25% going down as far as Tayson down there at 29th of 32. Just lots of huge wins, high win rate. Again, just action packed, the entire division. And then, so how many people are there under 20% in the entire league? One, and then the bottom two.
Oh, man.
And you're kind of near the middle and the bottom two. Everyone else was just winning hand after hand after hand. 20% isn't necessarily a high one, but to have that few people out of a full 32, so less than 10%, were winning more than a fifth their hands, it means this is just a fight.
Yeah. Like that just means that it's like everyone's playing incredibly aggressively, correct?
Yeah.
For sure.
I
It
mean,
means that the draw rate's really low because that's what that win average tells you is how many draws you have. So if you have 22.8, that means that multiply that by 4, it's what, 91.2%? So that means you're less than 9% draws. In some of the other divisions, you might see 10 or even 13% draws.
Yeah, looking at that division average stat up there, it's going to be very interesting to compare between divisions as we move forward. Not just C1, but all the way up through A1. And definitely from the broadcast booth, got to see a lot of the exciting, aggressive action from C1. I think aggressive is a great word for it, and it gives a big advantage to the people who can maintain that level of aggressiveness without dealing in as much. And definitely that's reflected in the upper portion of the standings there. Oliver with only 8.1% at the top of the division, and the remaining players in those guaranteed promo spots below 12%. For Donald, Christy, Gino, and Dylan. So definitely demonstrating a nice way to promote, keep up the aggression while maintaining a low deal in.
I'm looking at Danny W as well in the 7th spot. Very similar win and deal in rates to Oliver, but the difference is when Oliver was dealing in, they were into small hands. It's crazy how small of a deal in average Oliver's at.
I'm jealous of
Yeah.
3,578 average.
Yeah,
that's exactly the word I was expecting you to say. And just generally, the low dealing rate looks to be how you got out of this division. The only one that really had a pretty low dealing rate and high win rate that didn't do too well was Nicholas down there near the bottom with an 11.1 dealing rate, but dealing to 6,600. I'm wondering if there's a Yakubot in there.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Maybe.
Yeah, because the EV is pretty
couple.
high.
The
Yeah,
EV
that's,
is
that's
441.
really unfortunate. EVs kind of our internal calculation, win rate times win average score minus deal in rate times deal in average score. And it's not like the end all be all stat, but you can see it very strongly correlates.
Yeah, and you can also see that 441 near the bottom of the division is a huge outlier.
Yeah, sometimes the wall just gets you. And similarly for Rowan, 408 is generally going to get you out of C1, but not this time. All right, I think we have a clip.
We certainly do.
Yeah.
Wait, where are the 5s? Left. Oh, nice! What the?
And you wanted to stop. You wanted to stop.
Wait, I'm that. Wait, Palmer.
You wanted
what the
to
fuck?
stop.
Let's
Remember when I
go.
said the dealer of Dojima? Remember when I called that out?
Yes, I remember this hand very well. I was
at that.
Dude, we were
at
yelling
deployment
about the men
across the
hunt
way
and, like...
from the dealer when that happened.
Indeed, yeah, it was a wild one, just a random. We'll get to see the replay here. You're building this.
That's the old surprise, 48,000 pay up.
Like, the commentators were like very fixated on my hand because it like looked so pretty with all the honor pairs and triplets. And then like all of a sudden, just like mid row 3, they're like, wait, let's go back to dealer. That's shaping up to be something also impressive. This is going to be a slugfest. And then he got there first.
And I'm glad you added that context because we had 2 different clips of this, and they each were leaving out a good amount of context.
Yeah, the actual like broadcast was very entertaining to listen to.
Yeah, and all these broadcasts are available on the YouTube channel. Of course, this is a Twitch clip, but if you'd like to see this in its entire context, definitely visit the YouTube channel for the entire round. I'm sure it was entirely entertaining.
Yeah, nice win there for Michael. Of course, the situation you're sitting there, a little struggle and a casual 48,000, and now you're just absolutely cruising. And that was enough to get Michael a promotion spot out of C1.
Crazy.
All right, any closing thoughts, or should we jump into B3?
Yeah, I'm just taking note of some of these stats before we do move to B3 so that we can compare in a second. But yeah, let's hop right over to B3 division.
Also add a thing. Ty, of course, well-known player from the Rochester club, had been to WRC. So good to see him getting up there and out of the bottom division. New join to the league, and we'll be going next to B3 next season. And speaking of B3, this is what happened last season. Kate and Brian just kind of ran away with it, but it's not like Vinny or Alon were that far back. I mean, you just have these monster win rates for the top 2, 26.8, 32.2, and just look at the deal in. We talked about how a low deal in rate got you out of C1. Well, look what it does at B3.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I played against Kate, I played against Vinny, I played against Alan. They were all very good players. I could not get anything done when they were at my tables. It's just nuts.
Does look
Just
like
a
they have
lot of
like some of
winning
the
hands. This is a little more aggressive table than some of the other ones. I know A1, especially on call rate, tends to be the highest, but we see here a call rate 34.1%, significantly higher than league average, and kind of a bit of a surprise here, especially when you see these gigantic scores. With the top two players being 41.5%, 47.2%. These are aggressive fighting players who are just winning a lot of hands and then not dealing in that much.
Interesting that the very next one to follow is the lowest call rate in the division.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Vinny, with 20.9% and a relatively, even lower Ricci rate than the upper two. I think it speaks more to the participation of the upper two rather than the rest of the table. They were just
Mhm.
going for it every single hand and really paid off for them.
Yeah, I know there were some
Definitely-
comebacks for Ray and Tomas there, both from DC, who were just felt there was no chance to get positive, and they both snuck it out in the very last game. Another name that jumps out at me.
Oh, correct. We lost you.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
All
fuzzy.
right.
you're
Another
good.
name that jumps out at you.
Whoops. Okay, no, still can't hear him.
You there? Oh, Korak.
Well,
Oh, see, I had to replug the whole thing in.
Okay. What was the name that jumped out at you?
I was going to say Jackson because I remember Jackson managed to sneak out of the C1 division last season with a 70% call rate. And I said, boy, if you can keep that up, I'd be very impressed. And not quite so much this season.
Well, the call rate has been almost cut in half,
Yeah,
so maybe that was
getting
the
a lot
secret.
more normal looking stats and not getting results to go along with it. It's a long learning curve, and just the bottom divisions are always very chaotic. You never
Yeah.
really know what's going to go on here. Of course, you see Ray there with that 71-27 win average, not really winning a ton of hands. We talked about how in the last division there were only 3 people under 20% win rate, and yet you see here it's like almost half.
Yeah, it's also interesting to finish in 10th and to finish positive at all with a larger deal-in rate than win rate. And
Well,
it's
I
just
mean, if
because
you're
the
running
hands
that
we're winning were
71,
that
yeah,
good.
it's the average value there. The deal ends 44-20, but that win rate of 71-27, I mean, that's quick way to get some points back. Just win a bunch of big hands.
Just average Amongon, why not?
yeah, and I think it's great that you point out Ray and Tomas both because in the final couple of sessions, they were on absolute tear, especially Tomas. We got to watch, I believe, his final games of the season. And going into that last game, he had a massive win condition of something like plus 40 point first in order to move into the positive zone. And as a result, he was building these just monster hands, not willing to accept, Ricci Nomi, not willing to take, a Pin Fedora 2, just going for it all. And won a monster Chinitsu, won a bunch of just ridiculous hands, managed to get more than the 40 points he needed in the final game of the season to go positive. And it was absolutely glorious to watch someone who knew what their condition was and was playing for it all. And it was and he got there.
My commentator's heart is fluttering.
Another name that jumps out at me is someone we were concerned with had been just on a horrible losing streak and managed to climb all the way to A1 and it just demoted every single season. Has just had
Oh.
all sorts of problems. And Tucker, for a while there, was looking like heading to C1, but it managed to pull together. I believe had a Yakuman in there as well. Didn't win a ton of hands, but did enough to stave off demotion. Will manage to stay in B3. Does not complete the full speed run A1 to C1.
Oh
So
my God.
congratulations there.
Well, we determined what Tucker was saving all their flow for, finishing in the top 16 at the recent Philly Open, earning points towards WRC qualification invitational for the U.S.
Nice.
Apparently, that's what all the wins were being saved for. Well done, Tucker, at the Philly Open.
That's a nice place to pick it up. Of course, we have some few people here that have come in from B2 demoted. Of course, some from C1 promoted. You don't usually have a whole bunch of people staying in B3, and sure enough, there are a bunch of extra promotions. I believe everyone up to Ray got a promotion. I can't remember whether Ray or Tomas took the hiatus, but a bunch of those got extra slots here. And of course, we see who's going down. Anything else on the stats that jumps out?
I always look to the deal-in percentage. That's my big thing, and of course I have to give congratulations to Alan for that 8.3 and Carl for 7.1, the two leaders in this division. This is expected from Carl. I've seen him play in the past. I think he took a long hiatus, but that first season had something like a 4% deal-in percentage. It was crazy.
I remember that.
And Alan, a very strong player from Philadelphia as well. Not surprised to see him with an extremely low, not only deal-in percentage, but an average of below 3,000. It's just mind-blowing. So congratulations to those two for their defensive prowess.
Yeah, just overall for the division seems actually pretty average. The league average on wins and deal-ins is about the same, a little higher EV, but then a little more call rate than average, a little low reach rate than average. Everything's pretty much within range of what you'd expect for basic, just based on the overall league itself.
Yeah, very, very interested to see how that will compare to the B2 stats coming up.
All right. Well, I don't think we have a clip for B3. We had one, but wasn't usable. So we're going to go ahead and jump to B2.
Hello, B2.
Yeah. So the story going into the season for B2 was Kevin was a huge surprise, not sneaking out the previous season. Ended up something -5 overall and was stuck in B2, which is quite a bit of a surprise. And that is him going in there saying, "Oh hell no, not again, no way."
I talk about
I-
Zero lasts.
I've got
He
another
came out swinging.
surprise. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
absolutely zero lasts is an incredibly impressive feat. Not many players in the American Reaching Module League have accomplished that goal. I think he might be. Let's see, we had one,
Al
two.
do
Might,
it?
might be the Al had it one season. Maybe the third player or fourth player to do it. Extremely rare. So congratulations. I was watching his final set with closely to see if he would be able to accomplish that goal, and just good ladder player, and certainly showing it here with the 0 fourths, turning those fourths into third places instead, and getting the resulting reduction of UMA loss is really big in a league format. So well done to Kevin. Congratulations for that feat.
Unless this is a different Garth, I'm surprised to see Garth, a pro player, in the bottom in the demotion range for B2.
So there were a couple things that happened. One is he mixed up time zones. So he showed up on the wrong day for one of his games and took a full 120-point penalty, which is why he ended up demoting.
Well, that'd do a lot of damage.
Yeah, because it's -30 every time you miss a game that you'd scheduled and agreed to attend, and he racked up 4 of them. At the same time, he's had this problem with a really high deal-in rate every season. And we've looked at all the divisions so far. That deal-in rate had just pretty consistently been one of the most important things.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, in a league stand, especially with flat UMA, it's not like you're playing with some sort of Oka or first place bonus. It's just flat points with the 15-5 UMA. Of course, we have the floating potentially where it could go 20-0, -5, -15, or alternatively 15-5-0, -20. But he had some bad luck, but at the same time, he's just pushing a lot more, and it's been hitting him a lot.
Yeah, playing from Japan, definitely a difficulty with the time zones. I believe he was like playing at a pro table while the actual games were meant to be played. But speaking of Garth, I mean, he was down in the standings, but wasn't totally out of it. Had a pretty monstrous win condition, and was kind of working his way towards actually accomplishing that goal. I think we even have a clip of one of those games. Let's take a look. Pin Gambit first. Khan into revealing the 6-mon to be Dora. So now we're looking at Among Gun no matter what. Among Gun minimum.
I think if we're Michael, we're trying not to
Sumo.
deal in so that you don't go to fourth.
Oh, there it is! The
Oh
Uda
gosh.
4! Baimon for Garth. This is
That gets
exactly
him
what he
first
needed.
place.
We said the Garth comeback starts, and what is this? So he hit an Anko of the West with the Khan Uda, and then the original Uda was the Sanzo hitting the 4. So that
All
was
right, you
Oh,
see there, just
man.
on into Condora or a 4, dealer Baimon, salvages something. You can see here in the standings, at this point, Garth is in dead last in this division.
Oh my god.
And this is South 4, kind of a last hope. And he gets something there, but not going to be enough to save him.
yeah. This was
Oh,
game
man.
2 of the series. This was his second first place in a row after he won this hand. He then followed that up by winning the 3rd game with another huge score. And in the 4th game, there was a really wild scenario where, in an incredible Ricci battle, he ended up getting saved with a huge Baimon in all last to escape 4th. So picked up a ton of points and dodged some incredible damage, but couldn't end up making it in the final series.
All right, so we look at the rest of these stats. Of course, Blaine's been here in the commentary booth with us before, and I believe he got an extra promotion. I know Nathan went up. Takahiro, that's probably along with Garth. I think Garth and Takahiro have been probably my 2 biggest surprises. That
Yeah.
I expected both of them to just storm through, at least to A2. And Takahiro will stay in B2 yet another season. 14% deal rate, but it's mainly that 6,000 deal in average. That hurts.
Ooh. That's interesting. That's not something I would expect from Taka. He never deals into me in club ever. So
Yeah, I feel like when I watched him play frequently, he gets on the wrong side of Ricci battles. I don't know if it's just unluckiness or something that people are more aggressive online versus in person. Hard to say, but yeah, hoping that this season goes well. I know that he's been one of the players active in scheduling the games ahead of time. So well done to him. Well
What
done
a
to everyone
guy.
who's started scheduling the games already.
And on the other end, I know Anya was sitting here not in that great position after 4 sessions. I think she was around plus 50 and just rolled everything since then. Absolute demolishing of tables in the sections 5 and 6, and ends up competing for the division lead here at a plus 251.
She got close to winning all 4 games in her last session too. It was incredible run.
shout out to Isabella, just a couple Honbo away from taking that Saki award.
So close, yet not there. Overall, you see this division, Eevee's a little higher than average, but the win and dealing rates are about the same as you'd expect. Call rate a little more closed than the Armel as a whole, but the reach rate about normal. And anyone else that really jumps out here? Of course, Jinlong had been well known in the Mahjong Soul community for a while. He's working his way up in Armel. Will be heading to B1 next season with that really nice 3188 average deal in.
Yeah, for me, David, a player that I enjoy watching. James as well. I've had my eye on him as he's been promoting regularly from Rocky Mountain Mahjong. Looking forward to seeing how he handles it B1.
Well, I remember David a couple of seasons ago asked me, what am I doing wrong? Why am I kind of just floating around here in C1? I said, you just need to shove more. They just don't have it all that much. And play defense when you know you should, but don't fold to nothing. And I'd say he's done a pretty good job since then.
Yeah, second place in the division is certainly quite strong. And another player that I will definitely enjoy watching play in B1.
Yeah, I mean, look at that win percentage, 29%, and then 10.9. It's very impressive to see.
Yeah, EV. The only EV over 1,000 in this division, and pretty close to 1,100.
No negative EVs in this division either.
That's a good sign.
Very
B2
competitive.
is leveled up in skill since the
Yeah,
advent of
well,
the league.
so remember, of course, the original B2 was the bottom division. As Armels expanded, of course, it's dropped down to B3 and C1. So you would expect B2, which is now kind of near the middle, a little bit below the middle of the overall, but a much stronger league, and just the player base in the U.S. is getting so much stronger overall. Of course, I was in Philly couple weekends ago, and that is 100 people, and I'll be in DC in a few days, and that's what 112.
Hmm.
You coming to
I
Chicago?
believe at least
this year?
one other of you is going to that.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be able to play Korak IRL for the first time, as well as a number of other Armel participants. Are really exciting to see people over the board and have a chance to play against everybody. So looking forward to that.
Korak, come to Chicago.
Don't you have to have like a formal announcement?
Yes, I'll bother Al.
All right. Okay then. Do we have a clip for B2?
Outside the one from
We
Garth?
have another.
Oh, do we?
Oh, I think we have two actually.
We did one already.
Okay.
Let's see if we can dig that one up. I think they are two separate clips of the same hand, actually. Two people were so shocked by the Garth clip that they both shared it. So
Well, that doesn't work. Okay. I guess we're going to skip that then and head to B1.
Sounds good to me.
Sorry about that.
All right. And you remember what I talked about not that long ago, where there's a huge bunch of people right around -10 to -20? So it wasn't 6, it was 6 between -10 and -30.
Yeah, close enough.
But you see, 20 people here and only 8 even stayed positive. So and you just see these low average deal ends. This was not what we've seen from B1 before. B1 normally is just this wild, everyone fighting for all the value, high deal in, ridiculously high win rate, high value, just pure outright aggression. We see some of the people we'd expect from that not really giving the stats you would necessarily see from that. Of course, Rachel, always a very aggressive player, but 26% win rate, 13.2% dealer rate, doing much better in the deal than I've seen from her in the past. Edwin, of course, league founder, 21.5% win rate, only 9.7% dealing rate. So he's definitely improved there as well. And you see overall for the league division average, here, significantly lower deal-in rate than Armel as a whole. This is very different from how B1 had been in the past.
This was one of the most incredible divisions to watch all season long, and it started with the Barry story, and I think that all of our B1 discussions have to start there.
Yeah, I'm looking at that win rate highest in the league, deal-in rate lowest in the league. Like that alone is just
utter domination. In fact, set a record for pure plus minus in Armel history. The plus 391.9 surpassed the result from Kathy, which was also in B1, I believe, who was at around 389. So Barry sets a record, just demolishing this division. But it's not like Jay or Rachel or Kayla were even hurt that much. They had very strong standing because you had this huge bunch of people in the slight negatives.
Barry averaged a positive 16.3 per game.
Jeez.
Crazy.
I mean, at 1200 EV will roll over a lot of stuff.
At one point, Barry and Jay and Rachel and one other player were the top 4 in the division. They were all at the same table, and we covered a couple of those games. As expected, it was definitely a treat to watch. And of course, I'll plug the channel again, youtube.com/AdAmericanRicci if you want to catch that game. It's up there. It was insane. Barry actually didn't even dominate that series as he had the rest of the season, but still featured some incredibly exciting moments and really solid play.
All right. Well, I heard Chicago brought up not that long ago, so I guess we have to talk about Aldwin here. He was doing really well, but kind of fell off in the last couple sessions.
I think one of them I was doing commentary and I sent him a message and he was very cross with me.
Let me play my games. Yeah. Al
The
definitely.
Brett curse. Yeah. Okay. Remind me to
I
have
directly-
Brett DM all my opponents in session 6.
I did not, in my defense, I did not think he would respond or look at it until he was done playing. I just wanted to know what he had done. It turned out he was watching HoloLive on the other screen and clicked in and accidentally called it cheat.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
Note to self,
Well, that's the thing
only
is
focus
you're
on
at the
game.
point where B1 is strong enough. You really need to be focusing here. Or you're going to get hit. Now, a name that I was surprised to see having dropped to B1 a couple seasons ago was on hiatus previously. He is Amy, who had been a regular in A1, dropped out of A2 after having been demoted, but is heading back to A2 now. Definitely not a player I enjoy facing. One of those people that could just win and win and win and pull ridiculous hands out of nowhere and doesn't necessarily deal in a whole lot. And of course, she led the Destroyers to the last season's N League, Nomi League title. So congratulations again to her and the Destroyers for that. But we'll be heading to A2 now. And some other names that pop up, of course, Harrison and Irie, they were both from DC and both were looking to get into that positives, maybe sneak in an extra promotion. It turns out it wouldn't matter because Edwin ended up getting a very last second promotions. There was a super late hiatus. So anyone below Edwin wasn't getting out of this division.
Yeah, I know some of these players very happy to at least be safe in B1. Harrison looked to be in trouble early on in the season, but managed to pull it back in the final few sessions. And there's a really tense battle at the end. Ryan safe. Greg was really close, but saved himself as well. It ended up being Pio who fell down a little bit at the final session.
Yeah.
People that fell down at the end. I think Michael was sitting around plus 110 going into the last session, and it was rough.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes
Dropping
they
all
have
the way
hands.
into the negatives here, but we'll safely stay in B1. And yeah, Pio, Philip, and John, Andrew, and Henry have to take the demotion here. Pio is always a very volatile player. And you can look at it. You can generally see how Pio is doing. Look at his win rate. If it starts with a 2, he's probably plus 150. If it starts with a 1, he's probably around minus 150.
Yeah, I feel bad for the people in B2 who have to face Pio. Definitely a player who can just eat you up.
All right. So overall stats for the division, we see win rates about the same, dealing rates a little bit less. Huge EV, but I think that's largely just because Barry and to a lesser extent Jay rolled this division.
And there's very few EVs that are really lower than 300, only the bottom 3.
Yeah, and no negatives at all here. Even Henry, who had 11-4, still managed the positive EV, largely because of that 55-17 win average.
And getting 4 first place. Or wait, that doesn't. Yeah.
It helps the UMA at least, but
All right, we have a clip for B1.
unfortunately, we do
No.
not. We need more
We
clips.
do not. I'm going to blame Edwin for that. Edwin has convinced himself he is cursed. So he specifically asked us not to broadcast any of his games, and magically he gets out. So apparently he is cursed.
Yeah,
Nice.
next season I'm going to ask people to not broadcast me because it works. I'm telling you, it works.
Well, if you are on every broadcast, then
That's true. All I have to do
You
is
can never
broadcast every
broadcast
single game,
yourself.
and I won't have to worry about that.
The other thing I'm going to say just from this division is kind of a closing thought. Look at how many people have a sub 4,000 deal in average.
Oh, that's
Oh,
a really
man.
good point. Yeah, that's very impressive.
God, I wish that were me.
7? 7 people? Jeez.
I count
Yeah,
7.
that's you usually expect 2, maybe 3 out of something this size, and no, 7. You just had people dealing in cheaply, and it's not like the wins in this division were cheap overall, cheap win, cheap dealing. Their average win value is 120 higher than league average. So they definitely were going for value, but just really solid defense. Again, not what you would expect in B1 for previous seasons, but a lot of people really worked on that defense. And I believe up to Edwin end up getting promotions out of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting to the point where B1 is super strong. B1 and A2 are starting to become closer and closer to interchangeable at this point.
I mean, with all these averages, you know, it's like 3 Han hand every win. I mean, 3 Han? Jeez.
Not just 3 Han, but 3 Han closed or 40 Fu here.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
All right, then. I guess we're going to head to A2 then. Again, blaming
A2.
Edwin for lack of clips.
yeah. But also, if anyone ends up watching the stream and sees something you really would like to, you really think is special, share the clips with us. Especially if you're in the Armel chat, clip it, share it in the clips and highlights channel, and you could find it on the end of season / preseason show.
All right. Well, now we're into the A League here with A2. Bishan, of course, had been a regular in A1. I believe was in the first 5 or 6 seasons of A1. Had gotten doinked down to A2. Didn't get out previous season, but said, okay, I'm bored here. We're going back to A1. 23.9% win rate. That's higher than you probably expect from Bishan. But a 7.2 deal-in rate, that sounds like Bishan all right.
At a low average too. My goodness.
Yeah,
But the
You see
EVs
here
are
at the top.
all below 900.
Yeah, you don't have anyone like really running away with it. Bishan here, 182. That was like 6th in some of our other divisions.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you'd expect as we go on here, that some of that parity starts building up. The difference between the top and the bottom of A2 is going to be much smaller than between the top and the bottom of, say, a C1 or a B3. And you just see here, even Matthias kind of being the outlier for the EV, but other than that, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Vincent's a bit of an outlier as well, but yeah, there's really not that many.
Yeah, so look at the overall stats. The win rate, deal-in rate's about the average, is less calling than other divisions. I'm sure Bishan has nothing to do with that. Just overall, we're seeing just a bunch of people that have come down from A1. Basically, this top half is majority people who've been to A1. Which kind of you'd expect. Damien, of course, hasn't. Eric, Clinton, and Julian will have their first A1 season coming up, assuming they're not a hiatus, which I believe at least one of them is. But just overall, you're seeing the thing here. We talk about that 20% win rate, which seems to be kind of that cutoff. And you see here, the highest person with a sub 20% win rate is Kaz. They're down there at 11th.
Yeah, once again, it's kind of interesting here that the average deal-in rates for this division are there are fewer 3000s than there were in B1. So is it a sign of more aggression from A2, or is it a sign of A2 players building more value and thus deal-ins being more expensive?
Oh man, Faya in the chat pointed out that Stephen L in the 16th position is tied with Beechen for the least amount of fourths in the league and is demoting.
Yeah,
That-
that's incredibly
what
unfortunate.
The thirds can add up to, though, right? Some points start mattering after.
I
that.
mean,
Before
you can
games.
I
see
wonder
the
if
rest of what happened there, the low win rate or low win average and high deal-in average, but
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, that fourth avoidance, not great to have a whole bunch of thirds in Armel. It's not like ladder where that's a great result. You're like, hey, we're climbing here. In Armel, that's going to be in the negatives. A bit unfortunate with the specific distribution. With that spread, you kind of expect around, I don't know, minus 40, minus 50, but it's certainly getting fourth bad, but sometimes you have to get those fourths to get some of the first or second to make up for it. And just racking up those thirds has hit other people in other divisions as well.
Yeah, we can compare that to some other players in this division with a high number of thirds. Kenyon promotes with 9 thirds, but that's because she had 8 first places. And similarly, Matthias down with in the middle of the pack with 8 thirds, but 6 first places is making up for the loss of points. A lot of second places, depending on the types of thirds you're getting and the types of seconds you're getting, might not overcome the UMA loss. You could even get a negative second place that can cost you points as well. So yeah, a bit of an unfortunate season for Steven. I have to say that was one of the big storylines coming into the final session, was what was going to happen at the cut line. It was incredibly tight at the end, and at various points, Brian was in the demotion zone, Stanley was in the demotion zone, Jen was in the demotion zone, Wenchen, of course, was there. Hanley was all the way at the bottom of the division, as well as Eric at one point. Actually, I think it was Eric first, and he won 4 straight first places to come back and make a say of things. And Hanley was down there, won a couple games himself to put himself close, and that ended up creating this really tight situation where it came down to the very last game of the season to determine who would end up in the relegation zone, and Stanley ended up just barely being safe in A2.
Well, Stanley at his games earlier, he got to sweat everything out.
And I can tell you, he
And-
was sweating.
Oh, he was sweating. It was actually a source of entertainment for those of us in the commentary booth. But he was just furious about it the whole time. And then on the other end, we had Sarah, who was actually competing for a promotion spot. She went into the last session something like plus 15 and just got demolished, dropping all the way to the bottom. Again, a minus 136, not a great season, but a lot of divisions that's going to keep you safe. But not in A2. Again, just because everything's so tight here. Ends up bottom here. And you look at those stats, they're not bad. The dealing rate's a little rough, but everything there looks reasonable anyway.
Yeah, unfortunately for Sarah, she ended up in that final session with Hanley, who suddenly came up with some monstrous hands. And she also had Aaron at the table, who is an A1 regular. He had a very clear goal of trying to surpass Andrew and Vincent to try to get a bonus promotion slot. And barely in the final game did end up surpassing Andrew for the 7th spot. And that ended up being very relevant.
So I guess there's one other name we talk about to jump out here, and that's Jen, who was also in a demotion fight for her life.
Yeah, a part of that very intense series at the end, one of the very intense series at the end. For a moment, she was the 16th slot, the first demotion slot, and then managed to get a positive score in her final game to escape that zone. So an incredibly tense situation for her, but managed to pull it out.
Yeah. Another JPML pro along with Garth. I mean, just has that fight in her to just keep going.
Oh, you've made me feel the Harrison energy with that. Got that dog in her.
That's very true.
Well, Jen clearly of the Bishan school of not calling and not reaching that much, but just doing enough.
Yeah, that has been a very distinctive part of her game play, which is definitely trying to stay close as much as possible, and has done well in promoting most seasons and surviving her first season in A2. So we'll look forward to seeing her play next season in A2 as well.
One more name I want to point out is Eric D, a Chicago guy, promoting up to A1 where he belongs. A very good Mahjong player.
Yeah, look at that win average. 6,000.
Highest in the division.
Yeah.
Didn't Clinton have 2 Yakuban?
Clinton did indeed have 2 Yakumans, was leading the
How
A2
do you have
division.
2 Yakuman and a sub 53 average win? The answer is win a lot of hands.
That is true.
Yeah.
Was leading A2 for a while, and perhaps took the approach of preserving the lead to just confirm a promotion rather than continue to build for value. So he might have been aiming for a lot of open, cheaper, speedy hands to press the games forward towards their conclusion and preserve his lead. And although he did drop about 100 points, maybe 140 points, still comfortably in the promotion zone into A1.
Yes, and I believe the promotions end up going all the way to Andrew R here. I believe there are a couple people who skip them from a hiatus who will not be playing in A1 next season, but a whole bunch of extra passes went out, and I think we got a clip for A2.
Indeed, we do.
Alrighty.
First,
Pawn for Toy Toy?
Home.
Hadakatanki? Yes.
was almost certainly going to get the 3-so next round. But with that 5-so pawn is now waiting on 1-so, which there's one being used by Brian, there's one in the discards, one in her hand, only one left in the wall. That is Tempai for Kaz,
They have
waiting
to throw the
4-pin,
door
7-pin.
Well, they will not.
They
throw
don't
it.
want
They
to.
must be
Eat.
thinking. Jen wouldn't call to one tile unless it was
No, it's the
Doran
Rio
talking.
Peiko Tempai now. Waiting on 8-so, a Suji Trap 8-so.
Oh, no, it comes out immediately. It's too. Oh,
Oh my god, Richie Apatsu, Rio Peiko. So first,
Ren Peiko, definitely not a hand that Brett ever gets excited about.
My favorite Yaku on this planet.
I just
Gorgeous
love
boy.
Twice.
how excited Tucker and Dustin were that they were clipping their mics so hard.
Yeah.
What an absurd series of events here. The pull into Toy Toy Tempai, the Suju Trap on the 8, the 3-so that would have dealt in, now safe, and then the Ipatsu draw by Jen. What a tragedy for her.
That's not even including Kaz here not taking Temp, because like there's no way I'm throwing a Dora into this Hadakatanki. Let's
Absolutely.
not do that.
Yeah, and this was one of the first games of the season. This is a second game of the season for these 4 players, and I'm sure Eric was sitting pretty after that one. Just continued to climb very steadily throughout the rest of the season until he achieved that
And
third place mark.
this is my problem with Ryan Peiko, if I have one, is that it's undervalued. To do all that to get the reach epots and get one of the rarest hands in the game and it just be Mangan is upsetting.
It is definitely undervalued. Yaku, of course, Ren Peiko is undervalued. Sun Kansu is way undervalued.
Hmm.
I might even make a Yakumon, honestly. And the other one, you could argue Honroto, but that at least mixes with some other ones. There, Shilsong is about. There's one other. What am I thinking of?
I blasted into space when I scored a Sankansu at Frosty Fostings.
Oh, yeah, I've
incredible.
won one in Armel, and I will enjoy that until the day I die. They say A1 never cons. Not so fast, my friend.
I think one of the
All
things
right, then. I
that-
think
that-
we're, unless we have any wrap up here.
Yeah, I've noticed the average win percentage has steadily decreased league by league, starting with 22.8, 22.2, 22%. Now we're down to 21.8%. The average win keeps going smaller, and I think, as you alluded to earlier, a big part of that is the Ryukyoku rate, the draw rate, is increasing, as one might expect from players being able to suss out the weights a little bit better as the higher we go in the divisions.
Let's see what we're at in A1.
All right.
21.7.
Yeah,
Continues
so
to
we keep
decrease.
seeing that drop here, but the story in A1 was Simon just running away with his division. He was up, I think, 160 going into the final session, and you'll note he does not have a trophy next to his name.
What'd you do,
Because
Dustin?
Dustin, on the other hand, said, I can do that, and then did. Made up 160 points, I believe was up by like +5 or so going into the games that Simon had to play. And I was at Simon's table in that final situation, and I was worried about the cut line, did not have a very strong first 3 games, and then I got the entire season's flow in the last one, and Simon was the victim.
Yeah, it was an incredible performance from Simon in the early portion of the season, but that's not to overshadow what Dustin was doing. I mean, he also had a great start to the season. One hand will always stick out to me, and that is on the table with Dustin and Lucas and another player, Dustin Cons. The Dora reveals it to be Dora 8, and Simos with the four
I wonder if
Sanzos in
there's
hand.
a clip of that.
I wonder if there's no way that we've got that on unclipped, or do we?
Oh my god!
No way. You actually got this?
Troll fools.
So, wait, is that?
Kung.
Okay, we'll call. What the?
What? Oh my goodness. Well, now it's not Tony Todora 8, so now it's a Sambai.
Wait, so instead of getting 8, he just gets regular 8. We're not thinking.
And Nathaniel's like, I want my Haku. Give me my
Wait.
Haku.
Daniel's gonna just shove here.
That is Tenpai.
That's
now.
Tenpai.
It's going to be 3 so 6 so pay and Totsu.
That's Sanbaimon here, right?
It is Sambaimon, yeah.
Sanbaimon.
Non-Honi Todora 8.
Yeah, non-Honitsudora 8. Well, I think he says. Oh!
Oh dear
Wait.
lord. It's
Is
a Sanbaimon.
It's a Sanbaimon. Why he Richie?
Oh,
Oh, no, it's Kazue! Kazue!
Because it's Menhon.
Menhon, yeah.
Holy
And
moly.
Sumo.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just ridiculous.
I interrupted.
And of course
sorry.
it's Sanzo, because why wouldn't it be Sanzo with Dustin?
So as the player who was the dealer and had to eat Oyakaburi at this table, I was very, very sad. But there's two things that you have to know about Dustin. Okay, first of all cons benefit Dustin. Doesn't matter who cons, but it will benefit Dustin. The second thing is Sanzo. He had all 4 Sanzos in his hand. How could he not win? He is the Sanzo cult leader. So it was just destined to happen, I guess, at this point. And
Destined to happen.
This was a sign. This was a sign of what was to come. After this game, he jumped up to the head of the division, right next to Simon, and it was a kind of 2-man race. Although Simon had taken the lead, as we noted. Yeah,
You can see here, Nathaniel takes Oyakaburi here, and he's struggling already in this division, but this is still relatively early.
Yeah, I dropped to
I think he
last.
went on a bit of a tear.
I dropped to last after that, but yeah, after this session, this was I think I dropped to below 100 points, and kind of came back a little bit at the end, although it was quite tense for quite a while. But yeah, as you mentioned, Simon had pulled ahead in the division going into the final session. Dustin down 170 points, won his final 4 games of the seasons. He won all 4 games, and with significant scores as well. Managed to pull back 160 of those points, and was just barely behind Simon. And Simon did end up missing out in the final of the game, dropping the points necessary to confirm Dustin at the top of the standing. So congratulations, Dustin, for an incredible season.
Yeah, a couple other people that just moved around a lot. Leon was just kind of sitting in the -20 range almost the entire season. And then his last 2 sessions, just all the flow came out.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that was a
Won
name.
3rd place.
A name that I was very interested in watching. I think this was his first season in A1. I know he's a strong player, and I played against him in round 1. Quark, you were in that series as well, and I got absolutely destroyed, but mostly by you and Claire. And,
yeah, Leon wasn't even there as far as I was concerned. It was Claire and me ganging up on Nathaniel and saying, "Thanks for the point, sucker."
Exactly. Although I was like, okay, so Leon is just a very defensive player. He's going to stay out of trouble. I took some risks and ended up getting punished for it. And then throughout the middle portion of the season, he was still middle of the pack, nothing too big, nothing too small. And then in the final couple sessions, he really showed off why he's an A1 player and just absolutely went on a tear, finishing in 3rd place in the division. It's just behind Simon too. Pretty incredible.
Yeah, another name. My preseason pick to win the division just barely stays off demotion. It would Viet. And someone that had just dominated enough to not even have to get a bonus spot, always qualified with one of the guaranteed promotion spots all the way to A1. This was his first season in A1, and he was doing really well about halfway through the season. And then the second half of the season came.
Well, you know what turned the tides was he played against Simon for the first time in Armel. And Simon just went on a tear. He did Simon things. That was when he was when Simon was on his way to dominating the division, and Viet took the brunt of that and dropped a bunch of points. And then in the final session, played to his condition, played to avoid relegation, and just barely got there.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel in A1 there are basically three types of players. You have your by the book, strictly plug it into the bot and largely go, maybe make some changes here or there. And then you have the people that just flow out of their minds. And that Dustin and Simon are definitely on the flow side. That they can end up taking a minus 150 in a session, and they can end up with a plus 250 in a session potentially. Like if they get going, you just can't stop them. And there's a third one that's just basically the eccentrics, and you're going to see some people generate very high aggressive fighting call rate styles like Garrick or me.
Yeah, and of course
But-
you were in that tense fight at the end and managed to look fairly comfortable when all was said and done.
Yeah, so Alex had basically had he and I were on the cut line at the time. He'd had a very strong first three games, and I had a very poor first three games. So I was actually in demotion, I believe, at that point, going to the last game. And Simon at this point is looking at his position, and I think he's about like 10 points or so below Dustin, just needs a decent positive second to win. And I need something there. So you figure, oh, of course, Korak goes for first, Simon goes for second. No, I was just, Simon dealt in, I believe, the first four hands and was at like 3,000 in East 2.
Yeah, and you'd have to check the VOD for that on the YouTube channel, but all those deal-ins made perfect sense in the moment. He had either Tempai or super strong Ishanten, and it was not his game. But definitely your
But
game.
at least he did enough there. And Alex was like, I'm just going to stay out of this. Another name that had happened that we weren't expected to be there was Andre, who going into the final session, was around plus 40, not really in any danger. But we've seen the same kind of thing with a couple people. And Sarah in A2 dropped down. And then Vincent, a couple seasons ago in A1, was in third place and ended up demoting. And similar kind of feeling for Andre, sitting around 7th or 8th and ends up falling into the demotion spot. He had a really rough last session.
Yeah, of course, Andre was at that table with Dustin. If Dustin's eating all the points, it's got to be taken from someone. And, well, all I remember from that series is Andre made the terrible mistake, a mistake you should never make when you're on a table with Dustin, and that is calling Khan. Just don't ever do it. Khans only benefit Dustin. That is how it goes.
At least Andre living up to the Hanem Andre name by having the biggest win average in the division.
A bit tongue-in-cheek, of course, but Andre, I played against him this season, and it was one of the most frustrating experiences for me. In 3 out of 4 games, I was in first place, and then Hanem Andre came through with a dealer Hanemon and took over first place. It was just like guaranteed. Once the dealership passes, a Hanemon's coming.
Oh man.
Somehow just has that uncanny ability of always finding huge value.
Yeah, and so then I looked at this list and saw who demoted, and I see 3 Richinomi players. I go, oh no, scheduling this season is going to be awful. And believe me, it's already awful.
What's
Yeah,
going
A1,
on?
the season's shifting to spring, and that means it's a West Coast A1 this time, but next season that will certainly adjust once again.
Yeah, so overall for this division, lower win rate, but not a lot lower, significantly lower deal-in rate, a little higher EV, and the 2% higher call rate than league average. That's pretty standard, it's usually between 2 and 3.5% above the other divisions, because what happens is you kind of have this build-up in the division. You have, okay, we can build some value near the bottom. You get stronger and stronger until you A2. We can build all the value, and we just need to be able to defend. And you get to A1, and everyone already knows you can build value because they just try and ruin your hands with stupid 1,000 or 2,000 point hands. Because if everyone can build it, you have 3 players who know if they look at their hand and say, I can't build a big hand, I better stop that guy. So it
Just
ends up being a very aggressive, frustrating situation.
It's funny how it loops back around. Like at the bottom, you'll see a lot of Yakuhai wins, and then at the top, you'll see a lot of Yakuhai wins.
Yeah,
And then the-
everyone realizes Tanyao is a good Yaku. I should just go for it.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you,
Tanyao's
if
an
you
S-tier
don't have
Yaku.
a proper appreciation of Tanyao, play like a couple hundred East games.
Ah,
You will see Tanyao in everything.
Oh, yeah. That is
Well, yeah,
certainly
we
true.
talked about some of these other things. EV is positive for everyone in A1. And you see demoting here at 324 for
You.
Andre, kind of rough. It's generally been 400s, pretty much been the cutoff in A1 most seasons. And it's much lower than that all the other divisions. Viet manages to sneak in, staying at that 326, but just because Andre had such a really rough session at the end there.
It's hard to take that demotion being only 15 points out of safe area and having a 140 point difference between you and the next demoter.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, there was such a gap there.
A1's super cutthroat. And we kind of got that vibe moving into the last couple of sessions that there was a bit of a gap for a couple of those places, but that last spot, that last demotion spot, is always so closely contested, and you can never ever predict who it's going to be. It's always the craziest things happen in session 6, and that's why I love the final session so much. It's definitely the best content.
Yeah, so as a tradition in the seasonal show, this is when I talk about the people that have stayed in A1. Max and I have been in there from the very beginning. Nathaniel got in there the second season and has not demoted, and actually has a league title to his name as well. And it's just hard to stay at A1, but a couple people have managed it even this far in. And that has been 8 seasons of A1 now, and this will be the 9th coming up.
Yeah, big congratulations to you and Max for maintaining this incredible streak of strong performance in A1. And of course,
the tile. Well, you won't. Well, the thing is, over a course that long, you won't get tiles. Like, you're going to have to make do with whatever the wall gives you.
yeah, everyone knows Korak is a good player. Everyone knows Max is a good player, and going to be playing a little bit more cautiously against those two players.
Well, don't know if I'm a good player or if I'm just insane. Probably both. Who knows?
You know, you did bring up something that I feel should be mentioned here. Although the last year is already over, the championship game for the 2023 season was played in the winter season, and it was a really exciting series between Kenyon, myself, Matthew, and Lucas. And in the end, it was Matthew the winner of the Armel Championship 2023. Huge props to Matthew for an incredible performance. That season was the season that he got his A1 championship was incredible, and the 4 games of the championship were very fun. I will say I'm very sad to have missed out on my 5th turn Kokushi Tenpai. But even that aside, everyone was playing excellent mahjong, and I had a lot of fun looking back at those games and reviewing them with the players at the table. Some of those moments, and definitely looking forward to seeing how the seats fill out for the 2024 championship. Again, Dustin taking the first seat at that table, and we have the spring season, summer season, and fall season to go to determine who will compete in the 2024 championship.
Alrighty then. Do we have another A1 clip? It looks like we do.
Sure, maybe we can get one more. I mean, when you have Dustin at the table.
Around it,
Yeet.
chipped into a honey too.
And there's the Tenpai draw for Dustin Ricci, Penfu waiting 3-6, so 7 tiles of that weight are in the wall.
Wow. And one of them is the 3-so, so.
It's guaranteed win. Ipatsuma?
It's pretty good odds.
Right here, right now? Of course.
Oh
Of
my
course.
gosh!
You just knew it was going to happen.
I feel like I'm being converted into like the cult of Sanzo live, like as we watch this game. Like, what is going on?
It's only natural that Dustin Ipatsuma on Sanso. Just one more
Yeah, that was a
feather in his
lot
cap.
more mundane than some of the other clips, but I mean, it's a Dustin Sanzo clip. We have to, don't we?
Yeah, one more clip of Dustin as he claims his championship seat. It was so predictable to call though. Ipatsuma guaranteed.
Yeah, he needed the Aura 2. Then it would have been like pure Dustin, or even Tuso as the Aura indicator.
right.
Yeah.
Classic Dustin. But yeah, that's it. That's it for A1.
All right, then I guess we are ready to talk about the upcoming spring 2024 season.
Yeah, this
Who is winning?
Going to be the pairings for the divisions, and my goodness, C1 is large. I apologize to everyone who's trying to look at this. It is so tiny, you probably won't be able to read these names, but we have 36 players in the C1 division. Gotta squeeze them all on the screen. Wow.
Oh my goodness.
I could read them all. That's great content, right?
Well, maybe you can pick out any of the players who you recognize, who you're excited to watch in this C1 division.
Let's see.
Well, from Seattle, we have Steven, who is in all of Table 7. Newcomer, been with the club for like about a year, same as Aiden, who is also actually tried to register for last season, but just missed it by 1 day. So he did a couple of substitutions last season, and now is playing the tables properly this season.
Yeah, I'll second you on Aiden. I had the chance to play against him during the Seattle Open this year, in the free play afterwards, and the one game I had was really intense and a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Aiden play this season in C1.
Always give a shout out to Tom from Baltimore. Would like to see some improvement there. Get the club a little stronger, of course. And then I see Eric Nguyen. Which Eric Nguyen is this? Because I think we have what, 3 now?
Yeah, we've got a ton. We're getting to the point where we're repeating names a decent amount now. A couple Michaels now, multiple Michaels.
There are a lot of Michaels. Michael, I'm pretty sure, is the most common name in the league. It's either Michael or Eric. I
Yeah,
think it's
followed by
Michael.
Eric.
I want to say there are 7.
Yeah, Michael H, a player that very interested in seeing play this season, up in Table 3 of Session 1, along with Caden from the Berkeley area, who is hosting the Berkeley Open soon in April 20 and 21st. I think there's still time to register for that, but yeah, I'm really excited to fly out to Berkeley and have the chance to play at his club in a live event and maybe get a second chance to play against him in person.
TC is always an interesting person to watch. I'm looking at that Session 5 Table 2 game. Looks like it should be a lot of fun.
Session 5, Table 2. Peter, Michael, Bianca, and Eric.
All right, then. I think we can go ahead and jump to B3.
And yeah, this will feature a lot of promotees from the C1 season last year. So a lot of these names will be very familiar to us, in addition to some of the players that remained in B3 at the end of the season, including the players that demoted from B2. And I think there's actually a lot of strong players here in B3.
Yes, and of course, a couple names that jump out. Of course, Tucker, who managed to stay in B3. So I know there's some capability there. Just hasn't been able to string too much together. And of course, as mentioned, Garth took that really rough promotion largely because of missing a session. And you don't get a carve out just because you're a pro. If you break the rules, you take the penalty.
Yeah, and
yeah, that's gonna be a very interesting table too with me and Garth. I wonder how that's gonna go. It's early in the season, and gosh,
I see you're already preparing for that tough challenge, and I think it's such a great opportunity that we have as Armo players to have the chance to play against professional players in Japan. So, big thanks to Garth and Jen for giving us this chance.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not paired up against Garth or Tucker.
Oh, you missed them both?
I'm missing them both.
How
I feel like I'm only
unfortunate.
like playing names now that I like recognize from either not promoting last season, or like joining with the people that I played against who also promoted this season as well.
All right, table. I look at that gets my attention is that table 4, session 4, with Ty, William, Oliver, and Jen Hao.
Oliver, of course, finishing near the top. Was he the top of C1 last season?
Yes, he was.
Yeah,
That's
he was
right.
number one.
So
Yes.
going to be a really exciting matchup for sure. Along with Ty, as you mentioned, who's a very strong player, and William, aka Whale, well-known streamer. I'm very excited to see how Christy performs. Another strong player from the East Coast, who I think finished second in the C1 division.
Well,
And
if you want that Christie game, I'd say that session 3, table 1 looks super juicy.
yeah, that's the one I'm looking at. Christy, Tucker, Rob, and Ty. Looks like it'll definitely want to cast if we get the opportunity.
Rob was very formidable. I had him on my last table of this season, and he was winning a whole lot. He was very formidable. So
Rob, definitely one of those players
Yeah,
who's very aggressively pushes for his hands and can sometimes just take over a table.
I'm sad that I'm also not playing against Christy, but my girl Noelle, she is playing against her in table 1, so I'm looking forward to
Not
that
just
game.
your girl, Noelle, but Saki Award winner, Noelle.
That's
Yeah.
right. I think someone mentioned this is the first season that a Saki Award winner has promoted, so that's like a double bonus.
Nice.
that's definitely going to be a quirk for a while.
All right, let's take a look at B2.
Wow, it's so readable.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, now you're getting towards that 20-person league, so it is a little more readable.
This is scary. You got Pio, you got Taka.
B2 was really scary last
Yeah.
season. A lot of strong players,
Wayne.
and with the number of people from B3 promoting into B2, and of the strong players from B1 coming down, it's still a pretty scary division.
Yeah, Kevin's here. Man,
Yeah, and this
It
is
feels good.
B2. This easily could have been A2 in one of our earlier seasons. People are getting better, and just the fight is long. It's a grind. Of course, in other parties, you see people coming in from B1 having demoted out. Of course, PO being the headliner there, and just a whole bunch of people that are just not that fun to play against. You like to meet them face to face, and the FC are like, "Oh no, please no, don't sue." Ah!
Oh god, someone got Korak.
I see.
I think I'm looking forward towards table 1, game 5 with Pio and Brian Wen and Isabella.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's a good table. I think of Brian as a player that we'll be looking at every session. Definitely one of the strongest players in America, and was 8 on currently on Tenho, very close to hitting 9 on at one point.
God. Oh,
And just someone mentioned the grudge match that's happening table 3 session 3. Kate, Brian, Vinny as well, I believe were the top 3 in the division. They all played each other. It was a really interesting table. Kate and Brian have also played before, I believe, in C1 as well, as they both promoted. So another series that was really interesting to watch. So they get to play again. The top 2 players from Division B3 will match up again in B2. Definitely going to be one to watch for sure.
Table that gets my attention is here in round 1, table 4, Takahiro, Ray, Isabella, and Kate.
Definitely going to be some aggression at that table. And then Takahiro, who is, very defensive minded, but also will take his chances when he gets them as well. And I'm very curious to see how the different personalities and playstyles will interact at that table.
Yeah, and that's basically my feelings. You have Takahiro and then the other 3 who are playing relatively similarly. But Takahiro, of course, had been in B2. We talked about this earlier, that it was a surprise had been kind of stuck down here. Is this the season he breaks out and at least makes it to B1?
It's because he's playing me all the time, it's screwing him up.
One more player that I'm interested in watching this season is Edward. Now, I'm sure there's a really spicy table somewhere around here, but maybe that session 3 table where he gets Vinny and Alon and Isabella. That might be an exciting one to watch. But Edward, I think, performed very well in the IRL circuit, so very exciting to see him advancing in the online leagues as well.
All right, let's take a look at B1.
B1.
Wow, B1. Remember all those strong players from B2 who promoted? Well, here they are. We've got Kevin, leader, the ladder award winner, facing up against ID, Sarah, and Christine in round 1. And we see just his entire series is going to be really interesting. Blake making the return to regular play, was on a hiatus last season, so it'll be really fun to watch Blake play again.
I'll tell you the table that jumps out at me is that session 2 table. So there are 2 3s here because apparently counting is hard.
Don't mind that. Don't mind that. Ignore the numbers. There are 5 tables.
So the one that is labeled 4 but is actually table 5 in session 2.
Oh,
Anya,
okay.
Sarah, Greg, and Harrison.
Oh, you're right.
Oh.
That I can definitely see that being spicy. I know Anya and Sarah and Greg, 3 players who are very aggressive in completing their hands, and Harrison, who is sometimes aggressive and sometimes very defensive. It depends on really the situation, how he feels at that moment. So I'm very curious to see how Harrison will handle the other 3.
Well, Harrison gets out of that and he gets another table in session 3 that he's going to hate even more. Down in the table 5 there with Jinlong, Daniel, and his old nemesis, Irie.
Oh, that's true. What amounts to essentially clubmates. Always an interesting battle against each other.
Speaking of Irie, I think that session 4 match on the 4th table, again labeled 3 because counting is hard, looks pretty interesting. Irie, Greg, Aldwin, and Michael.
I feel like all of these tables, including this one, are a very interesting matchup of sort of standard approach versus maybe ultra aggressive approach. Like Al, I think is pretty standard these days. Takes his chances when he gets them, folds when he has to. Michael as well has been doing incredibly in ladder lately. I think it went on a streak of 29 games with 1 4th place and promoted to 5 Dan recently. Just
nice,
incredible performance from him lately. So I'm really excited to watch Michael's season, and that battle between strong standard ladder type play compared to just all out aggression. I wonder what's going to come out on top.
A game that's probably feeling it's going to be high action is that table 2 in session 3 with Eric, Kevin, Greg, and Christian. That feels like it's going to be either Kevin's going to roll it or it's going to be utter chaos.
I gotta write all these down so that when they roll around, I remember to try to cast them. The B1 division, always one of the spiciest divisions. I really enjoy watching games from this division. The sort of playstyles lead to very exciting moments.
As mentioned in chat, table 2 in session 4, Jinlong, Kevin, Steven, and Blake. Of course, Jinlong known for being a longtime member of the Mahjong Soul community, and Kevin, of course, one of our ladderers here in Armel. So you're going to have that little story in there, along with Blake to just mess things up.
Yeah, Steven will definitely be aiming for a quick path back into A2 this season after the unfortunate result from the previous. Barely missing out on safety.
Yeah, a whole bunch of really good potential games here. Of course, that snake ladder on the end. But we won't know much about that for a while yet, so let's head to A2.
Sure thing. Another division with a snake ladder at the end, which we should probably describe a little bit. After 5 sessions, your placement will determine who you face in the final session. First place will play against 10th, 15th, and 16th place, and that will continue on throughout the series. The adjustment was made by league admins to create the most interesting scenarios and a situation where everyone will have something to play for, and has led to just the most exciting games possible in session 6. I love the snake ladder. I think it was such a great move by administration. So big props
Are
to
we
Edwin.
sure that's the right one?
Well, I'm seeing
Kenyon, who I know is in A1.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb.
Beeshan, who's in A1. This looks like last season's.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and guess that this A2 is not this year's A2. So I think we can make a really quick adjustment for that. Otherwise, it was going to be just as exciting. And the A2 from last season was quite entertaining.
Oh, it's definitely got it. Oh, that looks a little
There we go.
more correct.
This is better.
Well, I mean, the first thing we have to mention is it's Claire's birthday today. So happy birthday, Claire. And so here are your official matchups. And I'll tell you that session 5 that you're in is going to be fun to watch and not fun to play in. Luce, Barry, Claire, and Riley.
Round
session 5, table 2.
Yeah, that is. Oh yeah, session.
It's
gonna be hype.
All right, that's a must cast. I feel like there are a ton of must cast matches here. I just want to.
The one right under it, also a must cast.
Yeah, that one needs to be done. Rachel Stanley J from PML Club versus Edwin. Who would win? Edwin versus PML. That will be amazing. And of course, Matthew Arnold Champion is in this division. Luce returning from hiatus is going to spice things up. Amy and Rachel making their A2 returns. Barry, who dominated B1 last season, making his A2 debut, as well as Edwin, A2 debut for him as well, sneaking into that last spot.
Kalu's been on the climb now for several seasons, finally worked the way up to A2.
Steve returning from hiatus. Last time he was in A2, he steamrolled his way back into A1, so we'll see if he can repeat that performance. Although, gotta say, A2 is getting so strong at this point that it might as well be A1. A lot of people, a large portion of the A2 division has played in A1 at some point.
And then, of course, last but not least, the one that jumps out at me is Jen, of course.
Got second chance in A2 to
Yeah,
try
Jen,
climb.
good luck on that table, session 4 table at the bottom there.
Oh, goodness. Claire, Steve, Rachel, Jen.
I'll go ahead and personally volunteer to commentate on that one right now.
I can't tell you how excited I am looking at all these matchups and thinking, this is an amazing table to cast. This is an amazing table to cast. They're all amazing. I want to see these all. I'm actually really curious to see how some of the more defensive-minded players will handle this. I'm talking your Edwins, your Eyes, your maybe Stanley can be put in that category. Because I'm seeing a lot of players who take an aggressive approach or a sort of standard approach in this.
Well, standard build value type approach is basically what Matthew does, but he just didn't get the tiles to do it last season in A1 and ended up demoting. Of course, won the overall league last year in the championship matches, was mentioned earlier. And we'll start out at the ladies' table.
Yeah,
with Luce, Rachel, and Amy. Welcome to A2. Not any better that you have to deal with than A1.
Yeah, I mean, this is essentially an A1 table. Luce was an A1 division winner previously. Amy as well has she finished second in A1 division one season with something like a 1.0 average UDA per Arichi win, something insane like that.
No, it actually was 1.00 average or for the entire season. We've been complaining about that for more than a year now. Everyone else in A1, why can't I do that? The answer, because you're not AV.
Yeah, that's certainly a very fun welcoming party into A2. It's going to be definitely a big challenge for Matthew at that table.
Yeah, just craziness all over. There isn't anyone in this A2 I would call bad or even a mediocre player. These are all solid players.
Absolutely. Oh man, I really can't wait. I can't wait.
Speaking of can't wait, do we have to do A1 quick? I ought to run.
Send it.
All right, here we go.
There they are. What a terrifying chart.
Yeah, this is have fun. Welcome to hell.
Yeah, I mean, Joe has done well to stay in A1 this entire time. A player who does some things that I do not understand, but somehow work. I need to learn from the Joe process, as he's done well.
Well, you
in-
have until session 3 because you have 2 flow players and Max at that table.
Yeah, okay. Let
Oh.
me just really quickly go through my schedule here while we're at this. First session, table 3, session 1. I get the return of Kenyon back into A1. She's back and out for blood. She's going to dominate the series, I'm sure. Session 2, we go up and to the right. I get the Snake Shack table. We get Viet Jr., aka Will, and Jonathan, another strong Naga type player. The third table, as you mentioned, is the opposite of the Snake Shack table. It is the flow table. We have Joe and Simon, who are just incredibly flowed up, and Max, who has 3-pin flow. Followed up in session 4 down at the bottom with the open table, the Korak, Aaron, Lucas table is going to be incredibly efficient and speedy, and I have no idea what's going to happen there.
Watch for
I don't
Sunshine.
know that it's going to be that efficient, actually. I think it's going to be crazy.
Oh, it will definitely be
but
crazy.
Lucas plays efficiently. Aaron often plays greedy, and I play aggressively. So that actually, and you are very much on the defensive end. That's 4 completely separate styles.
Yeah, it's going to be
Frustratingly
wild.
so.
It's going to be wild. And on a set table 5, all the closed players, we have Beachen, we have Andrew, who famously Ipatsumo twice in a row in my first time playing against him. Leon, who demonstrated last season why he's such a strong player. It's going to be a really rough season for me in terms of the different types of play styles that I'm going to encounter. But I imagine like that's going to be the same for everyone. There is no free table here. You're going to have to fight with everything you've got to survive.
Table that jumps out at me is the very bottom right corner.
Max, Kenyon, Julian, Lucas. Yikes.
It's like, welcome, Julian. This is the end of A1 where you're holding on for your life right before the snake ladder. You get Lucas, Kenyon, and Max. Enjoy.
Oh.
And you just see contrasting styles all over the place. So they talked about what I consider the 3 main types, but there aren't as many just reckless, kind of irrational players in A1 now. There's Joe to some extent, but he's a little more closed. I'm kind of the only like open reckless player in A1.
I was going to say
Maybe Aaron.
I'm also it was already mentioned, but I'm looking at round 4, table 5 with Korak, Nate, and like yeah, those 2 are there, but Aaron and Lucas
right
at that table too. Like
right.
what a table.
Yeah, as I say, I feel that's 4 completely different play styles. Maybe the closest that batch is me and Aaron, but I'm much more defensive than he is. Aaron will fight you down.
I saw it happen in Chicago.
Aaron famous for winning all the IRL tournaments in the Midwest area, and some on the West Coast too.
Yeah, so I did also mention scheduling tables. Look at my first table up in the top left.
Let's see, Idaho, California. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. So we are probably going to do it. Joe's going to have to wake up early at 10 in the morning, at 11 or 10 or 11 in the morning his time. And we're going to play 2 games on Saturday and 2 games on Sunday. That getting that scheduled has been a weeks long effort.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and depending on work schedules, someone who works a night shift is gonna have more difficulties with that sort of scheduling. So I believe there's 2 people at the table who work night shifts. It's gonna be tough for sure. But I'm
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happened. And so for people in B3 or C1, who could play, oh, people are scheduling. You can get it done. You just have to force it and talk and respond.
Yeah, this is the point where we we give the obligatory, call to people who are watching who are in the division. Make sure that you're communicating early and often, as soon as the division starts, or even before the session starts. Let people know if you are going to be on vacation, if you have an event that you're going to and you won't be available a particular day. Let them know your hours. Just all that information there will help make things much more smooth. I've already gone
There's
ahead
no
and
reason.
I-
Sorry, there's no reason you can't post that stuff as soon as the session starts or the season starts in every session channel you're in.
Yeah, I've in my session 1, my session 2, my session 5 or 6, whichever one it is. I'm already letting people know I'm going to be at this tournament at this day, so I can't play those days. I recommend that everyone else do the same.
All right, we talked about some West Coast tables. I have a very interesting one. Round 3, table 4.
See, Oliver.
Oliver, Kenyon, Leon, and Viet.
Ooh.
Oliver and Leon, very similar, very passive styles. Kenyon, who's aggressive and greedy, and Viet, who's by the book.
Wait, Kenyon is greedy? I've been playing her
When
all this time.
I
and she's
played her,
greedy?
yes.
I will say Oliver also, like, I view him not as a necessarily a passive player, but like a super Mawashi player. He'll hang around, and if he sees his opportunity, he'll fight for it. He denied me a Yakuman in the last season as a result of choosing to fight against my Suanko Honitsu.
I commented earlier on Eric from the Chicago club promoting the A1, but I guess he's taking a hiatus
Yeah,
because his team's not here.
Eric and Clinton, 2 of the players who went on hiatus for the season. So I was really looking forward to having the opportunity to play against him and get revenge for his double reach Ippatsumo Ura that he hit in the semifinals of Cincinnati against me as dealer. But I won't have that opportunity, unfortunately. I'll have to survive in A1 one more season.
Oh my god. Good luck.
Eric, come back.
He's going to need it, as will anyone here in A1, because there will be 5 demotions at the end of it, as there always are. Best of luck to anyone, except in my games, in which case, please draw crap the entire time.
Naturally.
And with that, I think we should just about wrap it up now.
Predictions?
Okay, who wants to take a stab here? And the question is, first of all, who do you win? And second of all, who do you want to curse by pretending that's who's going to win? Isn't that how this always ends up working?
That's true. This is where
My money's on Leon. Let's go, Leon.
Hey, finished 3rd last season overall. That's a pretty safe bet.
I ride that momentum.
I mean, I'll just go with the obvious answer. The only person to have won A1 twice, returning back to A1, and Kenyon's going to be my pick.
Oh, that was my pick too. I mean, she's got to win at some point this year because she's won every single year and been in every single championship match. One of the strongest players in America for sure. So, Kenyon definitely.
If you're gonna take Kenyon, I'll give a second pick of someone I think who's kind of underperformed and feels like he's due, and that's Lucas.
Lucas was a choice I was gonna make, but then I started leaning towards Aaron. Because winning all the tournaments in like the real life tournaments, like that's got to transfer over here eventually.
Yeah, Aaron's kind of due for a huge performance. He's been pretty close out, second man out a couple times in the A1 division historically in some of the seasons past. Has had some monstrous runs in session 6 to try to catch the leader who just had been dominating so much early on in the season that he fell a little bit short. But yeah, maybe this is his season. All right, we've got our predictions up. And of course, anyone can win it. Absolutely anyone
Oh,
can
yeah.
win. It's
Yeah, anyone in this division can win it.
24
People that
games.
I
be
may not even
surprised.
consider the strongest. If you're just drawing things, we say it all the time. Just sumo.
Indeed.
If you just win hands, it doesn't matter if your defense isn't the best or your evaluation is the best. If you're just drawing everything, that's nothing anyone can do to stop you.
Yeah, no one is up here as a fluke. Any one of these people could win, and it wouldn't be a surprise for it to happen.
I'd agree with that. So I guess let's go ahead and wrap it up. Whole bunch of action coming as we're going to enter spring 2024. A couple games have actually already been played this session. Channel took a while to get up, so maybe there's a little bit of scheduling. But be aware of tournaments going on live, especially if you are in a table here, because someone is probably going to that tournament. I will, of course, as mentioned, be in DC along with Nathaniel. That is happening this weekend.
Yeah, get your game scheduled.
Good luck at the tournament.
Thank you. We will.
Yeah, good luck.
It'll definitely be a fun event, and of course, for people who are looking at Session 2 games, be aware of the Berkeley Open, which is happening a couple weeks later. I think that will intersect there. The Columbus Open is happening in May. I think that intersects with Session 3, if I'm not mistaken. So be aware of that, as well as any of the upcoming tournaments. I believe Richinobi hits the tail end of Session 6. So all those exciting...
Yes, that's what it was last season as well. It turned into a mess for some of the other tables. I think it was changed the week because it's not on Juneteenth this season.
Yeah.
It's the week afterwards.
I think that'll
which is
make it a little
actually
bit
worse
better.
for Armel.
Okay, worse? I thought it'd be a little bit better, but maybe it's the other way around. But anyway, all that to say, make sure you're communicating with your table and they know exactly what's going on, and it'll definitely be fun.
And make some clips if you're watching the stream. You can always clip a impressive section. Just post it in the highlights and clips channel, or clips and highlights channel. It helps us out for these sessions greatly.
Absolutely. Love seeing those clips come in. Relive all the hype moments.
All right, then, a closing thought from all of you, and then we'll hang it up. Donald.
Oh, dang, I don't know how to do closing thoughts. Someone else go.
Okay, Brett, you go first then.
Hey, don't worry if you gotta miss a session. It means I might get to play. I'm a substitute and commentator, and those are my favorite things to do because I don't have to schedule anything. And if you are having trouble scheduling too, you got a busy life, you could also join the substitution team. We're always looking for people to play games when someone can't make it, or like I did once, took too long of a nap.
Brats.
Yes.
Set an alarm.
Okay, I did.
All right, we'll kick it over to Alex then.
That was very, very informative. Just looking forward to seeing a whole lot. I'm going to be commentating this spring season, so I'm just looking to get more info and hopefully give some more, try and teach a few things. We might have some new viewers. I'm kind of a person who's been playing more Mahjong as of late. I'm always learning new things, and I just kind of want to fill in the people that might just stumble onto a stream. Who knows?
Yeah, of course, we have all sorts of resources. They're very active. Well, you do channel here in the Armel Discord. You can always ask for help. But people will generally do log reviews, maybe not get it back to you in an hour, but you can generally get a bunch of help out there. It's a very open community. We'll flame each other much more on stream than we will inside any sort of messages or talk here in the Discord itself. The league itself is very welcoming. All right, now I'm going to kick it over to Donald. You should have figured out something by now.
Yeah. I just want to say, it feels good to promote, and it's my first time commentating as well. I have done log reviews with my club in Seattle, so I do know how to recognize hands and just go over my own opinions. It'll be nice to finally get to talk with people about hands that I've never talked to before and only heard on stream. So it'll be great joining you guys.
All right, Nathaniel. Of course, you've also been running the stream here, getting those clips up and playing. Thank you for that. Any
Always
closing
working in the
thoughts?
background.
Yeah, I've just got to jump off of what Alex and Donald were saying. I mean, big props to all the new volunteers from the commentating crew. I've been kind of running the majority of the casts for quite a while now, many seasons, and just the number of people who have volunteered to share their thoughts in game and maybe even run casts of their own has been incredible, especially the new group. So big shout out to Donald and Alex and a number of other people who have responded to a call that was put out by Edwin recently, and really looking forward to the future broadcast with you this season. Of course, thanks to Edwin and the rest of the admins for all the work that they do behind the scenes and making everything run properly.
Yeah, a name we haven't really shouted out much on stream in general. Just put so much work in is Chase, who gets the bots especially up and running, set up all the channels, does a lot of the overhead and organizational stuff, not the glory stuff of hey out there visible, but without the league couldn't really run it as is, and you see what has been built, and it's genuinely impressive.
Armalbot was not a thing that just existed. Chase built that.
Yeah.
And all those functions, all the pretty graphs, all of the everything was just put together by Chase, and that is amazing. It's this place is so unique because of that.
Yeah, that's a lot of work to put in. So big props to Chase for doing that, just season in, season out.
All right, then I guess I'll go last. We're seeing here that Armal's getting bigger, it's getting tougher, and what may have been A2 or A1 level of play in previous seasons is dropping down, and you might see that level of play in B1 or B2 now, because the goal of the league was to make the American players better, and I'd say it has been a wild success at that. So for the rest of the crew here and the admins, the American Riichi Mahjong League, have a great season, everyone.
Good luck.